So this speech is overall looking at the topic of surprising consequences of developing technology. So it's not anything too crazy technical. If you have even a passing interest in technology, you might have heard of some of these things anyway. But to give you a quick overview, I'm going to be talking about self-driving cars. I'm going to be talking a little bit about our privacy and our genetic information. I'm also going to be talking about delivery drones, like you're saying Amazon and that kind of thing produce. I'm going to be talking about prosthetics, and that should be about everything.
I wonder how many English means can say prosthetic.
It will be interesting to find out, won't it, Chris? All right, let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, in amongst the various predicted apocalypses, one particularly dark vision of the future keeps cropping up. This idea of a machine uprising. When it comes to the technology of tomorrow, our media tells us it's either going to be used for evil or it might do that evil itself. But so far, our most advanced technology isn't making our world into a dystopia. Rather, it's making it into a bizarre science fiction adventure. The future might not be dangerous so much as outright bizarre. Today, I would like to discuss some of the stranger consequences of advancing technology. First of all then, self-driving cars and how they might destroy organ donation. The eventual takeover of self-driving vehicles is going to outright change the world. There are countless benefits, such as increased efficiency, but by far the greatest result would be a near elimination of vehicle-related deaths. Of course, there are some downsides too, like the near elimination of vehicle-related deaths. Because as it turns out, there are some folks out there who rely on car accidents to get by. A huge percentage of organ donations come from accident fatalities. And so, lowering accident rates will remove hospitals' largest supplier of fresh body parts. The availability of all vital organ donations is already critically low, with waiting lists unmanageably long. So a big dip in second-hand lungs and livers is going to cause a crisis. That's right, people not dying is going to lead to other people dying. Not having any organs available is actually a more terrifying future than a robot apocalypse, because it results in a massive demand for the kinds of body parts that people, quite literally, cannot live without. We've seen black markets pop up for luxury items that we don't need, like ivory. And so there is no way that the theft and distribution of vital organs won't grow out of control. One possible solution is the legalization of selling one's own organs, like a kidney or a chunk of your intestine, in order to get cold, hard cash in return. In summary, robot cars will kill us by saving us from each other. Next, we have the idea of genetics-based medicinal data, and why that could be a nightmare for your privacy. So, there has recently been a rise in the theft of medical data. Unlike financial data, which allows thieves to directly steal your money, medical data is often used to indirectly steal your money via blackmail. And it's about to get much more sinister, because DNA testing is becoming a routine part of healthcare. Knowing somebody's blood type is already quite intimate. Knowing somebody's genetic predisposition to a certain disease is very dangerous. Your genetic code could tell somebody how likely it is that you'll get cancer or develop alcoholism. That's the sort of information most people will feel uneasy about their doctors having, never mind a criminal with a laptop. Imagine being blackmailed with the knowledge that you'll be prone to dementia in your later years, or that your heart might stop functioning one day. And it's not just cyber criminals who might be getting their hands on your most private biological data. Once that information is available, would it be reasonable for employers to ask to see the DNA scans of a potential employee in order to avoid investing in a person who might be prone to an expensive condition? Who has the right to know the secrets of your genetic code? Hospitals should probably know before they accept your donated organs, right? What about a potential marriage partner? Do they have the right to know what kind of a person they're attaching themselves to? This all sounds like very highbrow science fiction, but it's an ethical issue that we're already facing today. In the US, there are politicians who are introducing bills to give away your genetic rights before you even understand what they are. And we haven't even touched on the notion of creating genetic copies of a person to destroy their life, an idea that is tentatively being called clone mailing. Next, we have delivery drones and how they might actually lead us to communism. Drones are primarily being used at the moment for blowing up foreign locations or delivering DVDs to your doorstep. And they might actually be restructuring our society. But surely we're talking about one of those fun, utopian societies, right? And not a kind of communist uprising. Or could it be that drones are going to do what the Russians and the Cubans and the Chinese couldn't and spread communism worldwide, changing society forever? Well, that is what futurists are beginning to predict. Such as Astro Teller, a man who is the head of Google X, Google's semi-secret research and development company. He believes that drones won't just make pizza delivery cheaper. Having almost instant access to anything that a flying drone could reasonably carry will be an absolute game changer. Because why would you use anything less than constantly when you could have a small fee to rent it for a few hours and have it delivered to your door by a robot? So if you have something like a power tool or yard equipment or even dental floss, drones may mean that we move past the concept of ownership. Soon, Amazon might be delivering us communism for 20 euros a month. This might seem like good news for consumers and social equality and bad news for hardware shops across the world. But ultimately, it's going to be very weird news for us to see flying machines just moving various consumer objects through the sky day and night. And finally, we have how healthy people might choose amputation. The advancements in prosthetic and cybernetic technology have helped disabled people achieve a higher quality of life. And that is unquestionably a wonderful thing. Technology has been called the great equalizer, and that's most true when it's put to work giving the paralyzed the ability to walk, or the blind the gift of sight. However, at some point, we're going to have to ask ourselves if this is the kind of tech we want everybody to have. In some arenas, prosthetic technology is quickly outstripping the abilities of our own natural limbs. So it's feasible that having a fake arm or a fake leg will soon be the equivalent to having some kind of superpower. So, what happens when people start wanting to augment their perfectly functional limbs with bionic parts? There are some social implications to consider here. If it's an open market on robot legs, then they're probably only going to be available to the super rich, at least to begin with. The idea of a society divided between the poor and the literally superpowered rich doesn't sound so great to the most of us. But if this becomes common enough, the split between the mechanically enhanced and normal people will become the big societal divide of the century. The world of sports is where we see this have the greatest impact at first. Will cybernetics be allowed in professional sports or the Olympics? The easy answer is no, but there's actually some room for debate. What if robotic enhancements are the only way for an athlete to recover from an injury that would otherwise keep them out of the sport? Advances in nutrition, training, and medical technology have been pushing the limits of human ability for generations. And the line between those and upcoming enhancements may grow less clear-cut as they arrive. If there were a technology to minimize the long-term health effects of being a professional boxer, for example, who would deny athletes that protection? Ladies and gentlemen, while many of these issues may seem somewhat far-fetched, it cannot be denied that the consequences of advancing technology will impact society whether we would like them to or not. Given that the progress of technology is an inevitable fact of life, it is time we began to consider how we are going to tackle these problems as they arise. Thank you for your attention.